Okay, today's video we're going to be talking about items that we could use in multiple ways. And I know I've already debuted some of these items, but I'm going to be showing you what exactly we could possibly be using them for. Now, there's some particular items that do have a tendency of overheating. And in doing so, we have to find a way to get them to cool down. So, where this used to be an outdated item, it can now be used once again in a updated situation. Now, when you have specialty connectors, that might be a problem unless you know how to make specialty connections for these items. Now, most often, the pinout is so tiny that they'll go to motherboards or the main board, whichever are the two terminologies you prefer. Now, if you notice, the pinout doesn't require 3 wires, it's actually 2. But in order to make sure that you were connecting it properly, it actually had a 3 pinout connection for 2 wires. Same thing with this one. It's keyed. Okay, so long as you have the correct wire going to the color-coded wire to the correct side of the connection, that won't be a problem. This is a power supply fan, which I'm going to set aside. This one happens to be a Pentium for 86, I believe, DX. But let me confirm that. Okay, it is confirmed. The base of it, it's hard to tell. But this right here, this little clamp, gives it away. Now, we really don't need this clamp. We can actually remove it, but for aesthetic's sake, we're just going to leave it on. It's not in the way. It doesn't impede the performance of the fan or the way it's going to be placed back, or for it to be placed on an item for it to be used. Okay, so for right now, I'm going to scoot these out of the way. My favorite one, by the way, is this one. And if you'll notice, depending on the size of the heatsink, they are swappable. The heatsinks are swappable, and so are the fans. My favorite one is the one that's super easy to use. The pass-through connector for an ATX power supply. So, now we have a bit of a situation. I know this is a good fan. It doesn't feel like it's grinding or that it's off center in its rotation. But let's confirm it. Okay, that's what you have to have an ATX power supply. Now this monster takes up a lot of room, but it's going to be part of a new series of videos that I'm going to be making. Okay, so let me just grab one of the connectors in order to test this fan. Okay, there we go. Now, watch this. So long as I'm very careful and I turn this on, we'll find out that this is a... Okay, let's try that again. A working fan. Very quiet. Okay. And it does cool. Very efficient. The only reason that this fan was swapped out, I would have to guess that somebody went out and purchased a cooling fan with a more efficient heatsink. Okay, So now we have a way to test whether or not this is going to be a very good cooling fan and heatsink for its new purpose. Okay, let me turn this off. Let me disconnect this. Now here's the really cool thing about ATX power supplies. Once they're outside of their computer systems, you'll find that if you modify their connectors, you can use them as a way to hook up a USB item, such as a power pack. Now watch this. If it was stable enough to charge, stable enough to, let me rephrase that. Let me start from the beginning of that description. If it was stable enough to run computer components inside of a tower case or even a desktop case, then it was safe enough to run other devices outside the case. Okay, so here we are. And there we go. It is charging. Now you're probably wondering what an ATX power supply started out to be. Well, I looked that up and I found out that ATX power supplies debuted back in 1995. And they had a pretty good run up until they found a more efficient power supply for a computer system, because computer systems kept getting slimmer and smaller. So they had a run from 1995 up until 2004. All in all, they're very efficient in the way they used electricity. Okay. And they had multiple connectors, not just the one going to the main board. You could hook up a hard drive, a floppy disk drive, or a 3.5, or you could hook up a CD-ROM, a DVD drive, or let me see what else. Quite a few peripherals. Okay, so we got floppy drives, hard drives. You've got your CD-ROM and your DVD. I know I'm forgetting one. Oh yeah, there are some form factors that were called zip drives, which is a compressed form of storage similar to a floppy disk or 3.5. So, no matter the connector, so long as it was similar to an ATX power supply. So that's the video for today. Now I know I said I was going to take a couple of days to figure this out, but it was pretty easy to figure out what to do with this ATX power supply. I could use it to charge multiple items because it has multiple 5-volt wires on it, and it also has multiple 12-volt wires on it. So I could use it to power a car stereo on my tech bench. But I won't be doing that now. I'll have to find a way to reposition the camera that I'm using, this camera right here, my smartphone, to allow me to shoot a car stereo on my bench. So I've done this before. This isn't the first time I've tried it. So that's the video for today. We'll see you in the next one.